guys, it's Mrs. Chappie. Welcome to Monuments of Freedom. We are on, can you believe it, week 11 already. Last week, we talked about the Arlington Cemetery and the Tomb of the Unknowns. Remember, we're working our way through different monuments in the United States that represent the idea of freedom. We started with freedom itself, the idea of liberty and the Statue of Liberty. Then we looked at leaders, presidents who protected that idea and who represented that idea on Mount Rushmore. Then after Mount Rushmore, we moved on to, what did we move on to after Mount Rushmore? I'm losing my marbles. Oh, silly Mrs. Chappie. We moved on to institutions that protect freedom. We looked at the executive branch in the White House, the legislative branch in the Capitol, and the judicial branch in the Supreme Court. So we had the idea of freedom, the people elected to protect freedom, the institutions, the executive president, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch that protect that freedom. And then we're ending it at the end of this class looking at people who sacrificed and who died to protect our freedoms and our liberties. So we looked at Arlington Cemetery last week, and this week we're going to take a look at the World War II Memorial and the, it's sometimes called the Iwo Jima Memorial, but it's actually the Marine Corps Memorial. We're going to look at those two and learn some facts about it and hope that you find it interesting and that someday you'll want to go visit it. So here we go. I'm going to screen share with you. And of course, I'm going to have other video links posted below that you can go ahead and look at. So here we have Monuments of Freedom. There we are. See, it's just like I'm there with you. So we're going to go through our World War memorials here. So this is the World War II Memorial. This is kind of at dusk. I wanted you to see a picture of what it looked like with its lighting. This memorial is divided into two sides. There's a north side and a south side. And the reason that it's done like that, and you can see the one side there, each side represents, one represents the Atlantic and the other side looks just like what you're seeing there. And it's the Pacific. So these arches are how you would enter into the memorial. You can actually enter from the other side as well, but you'll find the names of battles and quotes and from presidents and generals throughout the memorial. And like I said, these Atlantic and Pacific Arch act as entrances to walk into the memorial. On each side of the arch, there are 4 American bald eagles. Let's see if I have a picture of that. I'll show you in just a second. This gives you another view of it. So you can see the 2 arches there. I'll show you the bald eagles in just a minute. And where the memorial is located is between the Lincoln Memorial, and then you can kind of see the shadow over here in the corner. That's the shadow from the Washington Monument, which is kind of near the White House. So this gives you an idea. This is the part of the mall on the west side. And then if you go across this bridge here, it'll take you over to the Arlington Cemetery that we looked at last week. There's a fountain right in the middle of it. This is called the reflecting pond. This fountain in the middle of it it's actually considered disrespectful to go in it. So no one goes in it or touches it or anything because this is the memorial there. So here's the arch that I was talking about that has these eagles on the inside of it. There you go. You can see them better there. And there's 4 American bald eagles, each holding garland in their beaks and a laurel wreath. And this laurel wreath, which you can see down there, is a symbol of victory and peace. And directly below, beneath the wreath, is this large medallion depicting Nike, the Roman goddess of victory. So it's something you see throughout these memorials is you see different representations to Roman gods and so on and so forth. She's standing on the helmet of Mars, the god of war, and she's holding a broken sword in her hands. World War II veterans recognize this image here, you know, the broken sword there, as the image that's on the medal that's earned by each member of the US Armed Forces during World War II. So this shows you that actual medal, and you can see how this represents this medal there. And you can see the helmet right down there. Can you guys see that down there? Where the helmet of Mars, the god of war, is down there. These symbols that are in the entrances make it obvious to all visitors, so there's like no doubt that this is a memorial dedicated to the total victory by the US and Allied forces, because you have each of the different sides there. So surrounding the fountain, there are 56 columns that list the 56, well, there aren't 56 states, there's 50 states, as well as territories and commonwealths that sent men and women to serve in the US during World War II. So there's one for each state, and then for the other territories that sent soldiers, both men and women, to participate in World War II. Each column has two wreaths, one on the inside and one on the outside. And these wreaths, you can see it up there, are made up of actual, these leaves on there are supposed to be oak leaves, because that represents industrial might. The other has a wreath out of wheat representing agriculture from the United States. So the United States is both, and if you're in my US history class, you've heard us talk about this a lot. It has that industrial manufacturing component, and then it also has that agricultural growing component, and so you have the wreath representing both sides of that. So all of these states, you probably wouldn't notice this, but they're put in the order that they were admitted to the United States. So they're not in alphabetical order, they're in order that they became states. So let's see, what would you start with? They would start with probably Delaware and Pennsylvania as the first two states that ratified or approved the Constitution, and then they progress along like that. And here you can see we said that the Washington Monument is in the background there, and you can see it actually there. It's on the other side of a street up a hill. It looks like it's like right next to it, but it's really not. Now, something else that's in this war memorial are all of these gold stars. Here, I want to show you another slide first. So during the war, during World War II, if a family had a member of their family serving, they would hang up this flag, a small little flag that looked like this with this blue star in there, representing that they had a member of their family serving in the military. And then if that person was killed, they would change this blue star to a gold star. So today, there's different groups, like you might hear, oh, there's Blue Star moms. That means that they have a child serving in the military, and they're a Blue Star mom because that child's alive. If the person was a Gold Star mom, that would mean that their child who was serving in the military had died. So this would get changed to a gold if the person had passed away. Oh, I don't want to show you that. I want to show you this. So in the World War II memorial, they call it the Freedom Wall. There are 4,048 gold stars, and each of those gold stars represents about 100 US service members who died or perished in uniform during the war. Yeah, I told you about the order of the states. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to share with you. I wanted to show you this. This is a little teeny, it looks like graffiti, doesn't it? It's actually one of those hidden messages that's in on the World War II memorial, and it depicts this Kilroy was here logo. And you're like, Mrs. Chappie, what in the world is that? Well, throughout World War II, where there were American servicemen or women, they would leave this little writing, sometimes out of chalk, sometimes carved on walls, all over the place. And historians actually kind of debate on whether Kilroy was a real person. Some people think it was some guy and that was his last name. Other people say it's not. They go round and round about it. Some people think it was a spy. There was a spy who got information during World War II. But what's important about it is that it gave hope and encouragement to soldiers in World War II when they would go places and they would see this Kilroy was here. They would feel that they were supported, or if they were the first soldiers going there, they would leave this kind of message behind for other people. So on this memorial, there's actually two spots that this is hidden. And I do not know where the other one is, but this is a picture of the one that was there. Right now, something that's kind of neat, they have these, there it is. I want you to look at that while I tell you this story. Right now, we are seeing the last of the survivors of World War II are much, much older. We're getting fewer and fewer actual survivors from World War II that are still alive, just because it's been so long ago now, that they have these freedom flights where they fly in survivors from World War II to visit this memorial. It's one of the newer memorials on the mall, which is what they call this area of Washington, D.C. The first time I went to Washington, D.C., it wasn't there. And so when I was younger, it wasn't part of Washington, D.C. This was just grass right here. But now they have built it, and now they're trying to get as many survivors as they can from the war to go to Washington, D.C. to visit this memorial, because it's made in memory of them. You can see all the different states going around there, and here you can see where the gold stars are right there, and then you see the two arches for the fighting on the Atlantic and the Pacific, so you can see them both there. So that gives you a little bit of some facts and details about this war memorial in Washington, D.C. for World War II. And then because we're talking about World War II, I wanted to show you another memorial that's in Washington, D.C. that you might have seen before. This is sometimes called the Iwo Jima Memorial, because this was in the Pacific Theater in World War II, the planting of this particular flag. But this memorial is actually for all the Marines who have fought in any war. So even though it's a World War II depiction, this is what the statue represents, is these men in World War II. It's actually for all Marines. And there were actually Marines who fought in the War of 1812 and in the Barbary Coast Wars, when the United States, the first time Marines fought, were against pirates off the coast of North Africa. Fun Mrs. Chappie useless facts for you. This is based actually on a photograph. I think I have it. There you go. That memorial was sculpted after a photograph that won this big prize. It's called a Pulitzer Prize, that was taken in, I think, 1945 or so, by these men who were raising this flag in Iwo Jima, which is an island in the Pacific. The flag that they actually raised, this one here, is in the museum that you can actually go see, the National Museum of the Marine Corps, which is there over in Virginia. You can check that out. There were 6 guys raising this flag. 3 of them survived the battle. The other 3 were killed in the battle there. One of the survivors actually was used as a model when they were sculpting this. So that's kind of an interesting little fact about it. The bottom of it is made out of granite. I think you can see that from Sweden. You can see that down there. And you can see how tall these people are, so you can see how huge it is. It's really, really big. And this is like not far from Arlington Cemetery, so you can see where everything is. Everything looks close when you look in the background and you see the Washington Monument, and that's the Capitol building down there, but it's really not. It's miles and miles apart. They're just huge things that you can see there. So that, my little friends, is some fun and interesting facts about two of the war memorials built to honor and remember and have us reflect upon Americans who have sacrificed for that freedom. Here, we'll stop on that wall because this wall represents all of the people who perished, who gave their lives for freedom in World War II there. So we will continue next week talking about a couple of more monuments. I have some links so you can see more videos. These are just pictures that I had. It was a great honor to be able to visit it. I hope someday you guys will get to see it yourselves too. So I hope everyone's having a really good week. I look forward to seeing you guys all when we have our park day. I don't get to see you until then, but eventually we will be all out of quarantine and we will be able to go to the park together and we'll be able to see each other. And I look very much forward to that. Until then, I hope everyone stays safe and healthy and happy, and I will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.